Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carla Merchant, and it's a high honor for me to be part of the third International Online Congress of the Didactics of the English Language, Educational Innovation in Time of Crisis. And great pleasure for me to present you my research work, a didactic strategy to teach English to slow learners. With the implementation of modern school education, it is very evident for educators at large that not all the students were rolled from the same clay. Students present a wide variety of differences. These differences can be seen through their race, culture, abilities, disabilities, likes, and dislikes. All these differences could become an obstacle for the English learning process for slow learners. For some students, some subjects could be easier, yet others could be more difficult. And English as a foreign language seems to be one of those difficult subjects for slow learners. The author of this research, being a teacher at Luis Vargas Torres University, have found so many different problems in the English learning students. One of these problems is that there is a gap in the transition of the students from high school to university. The current educational system lacks a pre-screening of students' learning abilities and disabilities, which makes it harder the effectiveness of the teachers in the classrooms. Therefore, there is a necessity to design a didactic strategy to enhance the English-speaking abilities of slow learners. The situation described permits me to state the following question: which didactic strategy will be useful to improve the ability of acceptable English speaking of slow learners at Luis Vargas Torres University? This investigation provides teachers with a didactic strategy to help slow learners to overcome speaking abilities difficulties. Moving on to the objectives. General is to design a didactic strategy to teach speaking to slow learners at Luis Vargas Torres University in Esmeraldas. Among the specifics are to determine slow learners' main English learning needs in the speaking ability. Secondly, to identify the strategies that slow learners use to develop the speaking ability. Third, to determine the didactic strategy that teachers of English use to develop the speaking ability in slow learners at Luis Vargas Torres University in Esmeraldas. Moving on to the theoretical framework. What is a didactic strategy? According to Madrid, Loera, Peinado, and Soto, describe it as an action plan that comprises methods, techniques, and organization of instructions. According to Mupati, a slow learner is a student with the ability to acquire all necessary academic skills at a rate and depth below that of the average student. The characteristics of these students are insufficient vocabulary, bad motor skills and coordination, low self-esteem, shyness, and unhappiness. What is an inclusive education? It's an education tailored for all the students that have different needs. So the education has to meet the needs of the students to ensure their complete success in the given subject. This investigation has been based on the social-cultural approach by Vygotsky that states that culture and society, language and interaction are important in humans' learning process, and also in the zone of proximal development, that is the distance between what the children can do without help than what they can achieve by means of a mediator of help from others. The communicative approach as well is based on the idea that learning a language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. The method for this investigation is a mix of a descriptive, qualitative, and quantitative one. The population example were 120 students and 10 teachers that belong to the English Center of the Luis Vargas Torres University. The students belong to the School of Basic Education levels first and third. 60 students were taken by the teacher. Those ones were the ones that presented slow learning characteristics. The methods of the investigation is analysis, synthesis, and hermeneutics. The techniques of the investigation, survey and observation. The data was processed through the Microsoft Excel program. Instruments were questionnaire and observation forms that were followed in the visits for the class observations that were done in a period of 2 months, and 20 observations were done in different classes. The results I can share with you, according to the surveys, students, 48% of them consider themselves very bad to speaking English. And checking the teachers survey, 33% states that speaking is one of the hardest abilities to teach or develop in the students. Also, 68% of the students enjoy to work in pairs. And the teacher survey, also the strategies that they use are oral, pair work, and individual oral work as well. Moving on to the discussion, Ramirez, she has done some research and have found very similar descriptions in different authors about slow learners. Those characteristics are lack of vocabulary, low self-esteem, and shyness. And in the students' survey, we can see that they lack vocabulary and pronunciation, and that increases their fear to speaking English. Also, Lewin, Goodell, and Wall state that in the 21st century, education has to embrace technology. Real advice to reinforce the instruction for slow learner students. And in the surveys, it showed that the teachers clarify the instruction very frequently to these students. I have a proposal, which is the strategy that I have created to teach slow learners. The strategy, briefly, I will explain to you, consists in the use of technology like cell phones, speakers, and Bluetooth. You're going to go with the students through the vocabulary that you have taught in class. For example, if you are teaching personal appearances and we are teaching how to describe ourselves, the student have to, after mastering the concepts of the adjectives, they have to create their own description. They are going to record their own in their phone, and then they will play it in the speaker through the Bluetooth for the whole class. So how helpful has been this strategy for me? Has been very great, because these students, slow learners, are very shy and they don't like to be put on the spine, the center, in the middle. So they record their speaking and they play it through the recorder. The whole class listen to it, and also later it gives me the opportunity to listen again and help them with some vocabularies and pronunciation. As a conclusion of this work, I can state that the general objective that was to create a didactic strategy was achieved, and the specific objectives were also achieved through knowing the characteristics of the slow learners. That we don't have to forget that they take longer in mastering concepts, they are shy, and they enjoy working with others. And the strategies are pair work or group work, drilling is a good strategy because most of these students learn by repetition, audiovisual, and technology. And finally, as a teachers, we have to get to know our students' needs in order to satisfy them and have a more specific and meaningful instruction. Thank you very much for your attention.